Peasant Productions presents the math of ESP, why it works even if you don't believe in it. I'm going to do a little bit of a talk here about nationalism and how it filters down, because it directly relates to how religious fanatics are created. Okay, when you see somebody ranting and raving about how their country is so great and nobody should be allowed to talk bad about it, and they're so great, or their group is so great that nobody should ever be allowed to say anything bad and we should have censorship against it, you are literally, a nationalist, or in other words, a racist. You are classifying something as a group that is better and special than anybody else. Israelis are classifying Palestinians as beneath dirt and trying to bury them in the grave, okay? I have no objection against the idea of raising my hands and my voice and whatever else I can, taking up my pen or my camera or whatever, to help the Palestinians regain their human rights to live free. By the same token, the idea that, this fight here that has mangled my hands and put me in a situation where, this is the 28th day of locking the police out. I'm about to run out of food. I'm actually at the point where yesterday I had just a little bit of some pancake batter that I fried myself up a couple little tiny pancakes, and that's all I ate for the whole day. And fortunately, I have fasted for 32 days, and I routinely fast through my life, so I'm simply shutting my system down before I completely run out of food. I think I can, keep power on, keep my internet up, even pay my rent all through the internet. Okay, I haven't actually tried yet, and it's not possible to do. But of course I'm in a foreign country, so it's going to be a little trickier, so I don't want to make a bunch of attempts at trying to do it. I just want to go in and see what I have to do and do it. And I have several days yet before I have to worry about everything. The rent is due in a few days, and my other bills are due by the end of the month. But to see people sit there and badmouth me for fighting for what has always been human and all life on this planet, and call me an idiot. I have a history of proving I'm a 200 plus IQ. I don't run around bragging about that through most of my life. At this point in time, I'm simply stating it because my 27-year-old son, who I've only seen once in 15 years, and that was kind of hard to do because he came down to see the stepdad who actively worked against me and got me thrown in prison, and wanted to throw me in prison again when I had to, go running out of the United States back in 2015 for no other reason than just to be an abusive parent or parental type thing. He's not my real father, and 58 years ago, at 2 years of age, he made that quite clear, and he has never apologized for the fact that he considers me a slimy piece of crud that has only the right to work and make money for him. Interesting, yes, he's a Republican too. He's, very white, he's very arrogant, and he's, at this point in time, of course, at over 90 years old, he's also quite senile, which makes him dangerous to be around. He was very physically violent. His favorite thing was to slap me in the face until my nose bled, and then call me a bad boy for picking my nose and causing my nose to bleed and pound me until I was a pile of flesh on the ground and barely able to even sob. That was when the apartment started coming in and rescuing me. They got tired of hearing my screams. A person, like that, and my son went to go see him, and whenever I walked into the room, he walked out the other door. We had very little conversation at any point in time. So in 15 years, I've had not even an hour of conversation with my son. Because nationalists, racists, evil people, horrible people, and whatever a long list of words you want to use, beat the snot out of my kid. Now, picking on them, would give great satisfaction, I'm sure, to me and most people. However, in picking on them, I do nothing to actually heal my son. My son and I just simply have to find the time and space to be together for a little while, probably 10 to 20 or 30 years, for him to reacquaint himself to me, because at 27 and hasn't been around me for 15 years, he's spent more time in the hands of the evil people than around me. The United States government will gladly get up there and tell you how, oh, that person that came back talking good about the terrorists, they were just, they were in those terrorist groups for so long, they've been brainwashed. Your government is brainwashing you. The United States government is saying that to brainwash you so you will hate any and all people that try and say anything good about anything they are against. Donald Trump is the absolute epitome of what happens when nationalism goes so far that, their flag is more important than human rights. Their flag is more important than human life. Their Democratic Party, Republican Party, their union, whatever, is more important than all life on the planet. If we all banded together and we thought about the fact that maybe we should just overthrow the oppressors, and it's not like there aren't memes around there about this. I mean, I've been putting one up, that I started using before the 2016 election, and before the 2016 election, I made a little poster for myself of, get me off this planet. These people are insane. They cannot come together in the idea of life. They will rant and rave their particular little thing, and they don't care anything whatsoever about anything else. As I say, Einstein said it best. People who do the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results for having performed the exact same thing, they are what would be considered insane, because they do not want to learn. They want to just keep running up against the wall and hitting the wall and hitting the wall. And while, yeah, you might eventually break that wall down. I remember in high school, I did a poem about waves breaking on the shore and how the water would eventually win because the shore gets washed away. But if we all got together and we made one big concerted effort, as I have shown, the Rainbow Warrior is not one town, one city, one state, even one continent. It is all the continents. It is people on all of those things realizing that the planet is extremely damaged and something needs to be done now, not after 30 years of debate, not after 30 or 40 years of calling each other names. I have been around the publishing industry for almost 50 years. And 53 years ago I was told not to consider being a writer because I was 7 years old and talking about being a writer. I wanted to publish books. I have now done that. It's sad not to be able to share stuff with my son that came from that far back in my life. It's sad to sit here and realize that, I could be dead in a couple of days. There's absolutely nothing in this entire planet doing anything to save me right now. But I sit here and I fight and I talk and I do my thing. I know that this is a path I took from a very, very long time ago. At 2 years of age, I was told that, you want to follow truth, this is the path that's going to happen. And yes, just like all the other people who ever really walked a hard, tight line of truth, chances are At this point in time, I'm now going to get killed and made into a martyr so somebody else can make money off of my dead body. I can cite the idea that, for instance, I have so much of the controversial sides coming through my feeds, whether it's my emails that I get from, from different sides, Republican and Democrat and Palestine and, stuff like that. I mean, I get a lot of different bits and pieces, indigenous stuff, stuff like this. And I have one person in particular that they went on a big long rant, for months about how news should be censored by the government because how dare you talk bad about the government, and Donald Trump is just the greatest thing, and he's the most brilliant person to ever be in the news, and he's the most brilliant person to ever start a business, and he's the most brilliant person to ever be a president, and just ranting on. And no matter what I said about my personal history of studying Donald Trump way back in the late 80s and the beginning, by 1990 I knew that he was a Rothschilds person. I knew that he was directly connected to that extremely 0.001% elite rich people. Elite rich, yes, I don't even like saying that word anymore, but yeah. And then I just kind of, I left him in my feed on Facebook, and I didn't really worry about him any, and all of that. And all of a sudden, here starts coming posts about freedom of speech and protecting everybody's right to have their own opinions and stuff. And this person was doing a literal about-face in what they were saying about how we should have censorship and you shouldn't be allowed to post anything that isn't government censored. To saying, oh, we shouldn't have government censor, and Donald Trump is up there fighting for your your rights against censorship, and I mean, part of me definitely bristled, because Donald Trump just handed the FCC, which is your entire media, all levels of media go through the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, but the person wasn't even smart enough to realize that they were hyping up Trump as the savior of mankind by denying actual everyday news coming out through ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, whoever you want to check with. He put this person in charge of the FCC who was a direct lobbyist of Sinclair and Comcast and a couple of the other really big moguls who want to own all rights to everything that's on the internet. And this is this kind of stuff you have out there that are arguing that it's the same thing. Like I say, it's the same thing as the environmentalists running around waving, "Oh, I got a fuzzy bear. I'm protecting the koala bears." Yeah, and they could care less about anything else. They could care less about the seals and the whales and the polar bears, but they're a great environmentalist because they bought a stuffed animal or something like that. So the next time anybody wants to jump in my face and start ranting and raving about how I'm a racist because I protect all life, whether it's a virus or it's a human being, or it's something greater than a human being, like, birds and whales and dolphins and scorpions and rattlesnakes and mountain lions and polar bears and black bears and brown bears and grizzly bears and wolves especially. I happen to like wolves, and they have always gotten an awful bad rap throughout life. Stop and think about how much of a racist you are because you're only talking about one particular little group. It's the backbone of most of the violence is Roman divide and conquer, which you see very, very plainly here in the world now. So think about it, and